So this is FirstCoast.tv. I find myself with Angela Stewart. She's a resident here of St. Augustine. And I guess the reason we're having this conversation with Angela is because her situation is a very common story for Americans who struggle with health care. And so I know what Angela has gone through. Probably millions of Americans have gone through at some degree, a little better or much worse. But this is so that the public knows that this is what goes on in the good old USA, and we're here in Florida. The state of, every state is a bit different. So Angela, here we are, and I see that you are struggling with cancer.
Absolutely, yes. I was diagnosed last fall with stage 3 breast cancer, which is quite aggressive.
Yes.
As the initial diagnosis.
Right. Yes.
So what I chose to do, there are several choices that you're given at the time, and there's so much information coming at you. I opted to go ahead and have surgery first. And once the pathology came back from surgery, I ended up doing the chemotherapy and then the radiation behind that.
Okay, let me stop you right here real quick. Did you have insurance?
I have full coverage. I've had coverage for years and years. Florida Blue is the carrier that I have.
And would you mind me if I ask you about how much do you pay a month for your health insurance?
It's just under $1,200 a month that they receive for the health insurance for me alone.
Okay, all right.
Right.
So when you got struck with this cancer, you thought you were covered?
I had no problems as far as coverage, not in my own mind. I didn't think there was going to be any issue there at all. Now with the plan I had, I knew it would probably cost me a few dollars as well, because that's just the kind of plan I was on. There are always some co-pays, some additional fees that I would have to pay for, but I was good with that. I was fine with all of that. And they have it. I opted for a PPO because the one thing that was really important to me was that I could choose the doctor I wanted. I could choose the location I wanted to have the surgery, or whatever my need might be. It would just cost me a little bit more money, and that was okay. I was fine with that. I'd rather have the choice and have that PPO and pay a little bit more for it than be stuck and limited in one of their HMO plans.
Right.
And that's exactly what I purchased from them a few years back, and I've stayed with the same plan all along.
So then you hit this health issue, and now you're at the pathologist, and the news is what?
Well, the news was that it was stage 3 breast cancer, and that it was, the locations were many. It was not only in the tumor, it was in the ducts, it was in the nose. There was no question in my mind that I had to have surgery. So that's where I went first for the surgery. So I went ahead and was referred to a surgeon. He was at my favorite hospital, Baptist South, and we proceeded with surgery almost immediately. He had me on the table within a week. Everybody knew that when these doctors all know you have an aggressive cancer, they want to deal with it right away.
They have to be aggressive themselves in the treatment.
Absolutely. Yes. So it was set up, and I went for my pre-op with Baptist South, and everything was organized, and I was headed in for surgery. And then on the day of surgery, something really unusual happened. The woman who was admitting me suddenly tells me that this is no good. She can't let me go back. She can't allow this surgery to proceed because of the type of plan I have with Florida Blue.
This is crazy.
Now, there were plenty of opportunities for Baptist South to have told me this before, for anyone to have told me before. She's showing me on the screen what my out-of-network cost would be, and I said, I know my plan. I understand that's my out-of-network cost, and I'm fine with that. I'm willing to pay the out-of-network cost because I want Baptist South.
Now, how much was the out-of-network cost?
$14,000.
Wow. Wow, this is
Yeah.
wow,
Oh yeah.
this is-
It was a lot of money, and I
Wow.
had the money. I had it set aside
okay.
just for this surgery
Mhm.
because it was so. It's life-saving surgery.
Right.
You're faced with
Yeah.
a situation where your life is
Mhm.
flashing before
Yeah,
your
yeah.
eyes. Of course, you're going to do whatever you feel is
Right,
the best for
right.
you.
Same.
For me, that was the way to go.
And so was the issue resolved?
Uh,
Did the surgery move on?
what the surgery did move on. They said I had to give them a deposit. I said, fine. How much do you want? And I gave them the deposit, and then all of a sudden all the nurses rushed over to get me back into surgery, and the
Oh,
surgery
wow.
took place. And Baptist South was wonderful, as I knew they would be. I was treated extremely well for the 24 hours that I
they
was
have a
there.
great reputation, Karen.
Wonderful
Yeah.
reputation, state-of-the-art equipment. I understand completely why my surgeon
Mhm.
operates out of that particular
Venue.
hospital. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So that was fine. But the part then that was difficult for me, I kept looking at my claims online with Florida Blue. And the claim had been sent in by Baptist South to pay for the surgery. And it didn't have any kind of a response yet to it. It was always pending, pending, pending. I did not even get a bill from this hospital until April.
So
That was October until April.
Oh wow.
So I kept waiting and waiting, thinking they're doing their thing, they're going to take care of it, and once they get their part settled, then I'll go ahead and take care of my part and everything will be fine.
Mhm.
Not so. Apparently, there's some fight going on between Florida Blue and Baptist hospitals.
Mhm.
And for some reason, the Baptist system will not take any payments for this plan that I'm on. Now, I don't get that. There's nothing in my plan that says Baptist is not a hospital you can use because we don't pay for that.
Right, right.
Or if you're about to do something at Baptist, you would think that your carrier would say something like, "Oh, by the way, did you know that we don't pay these people any money?"
So it
Nobody
seems
says
that-
anything. It's just
Right. So it seems like they start shooting at each other, and you're caught in the crossfire.
I'm caught in the middle. When there is something that I had, some of the genetic testing I had done, they would not pay for. They send me a letter that it declines the claim, which is the legitimate way to do things. There was no letter ever came that they were declining the claim for the operating room. And it's not for the surgery,
Right.
because all the doctors were paid, all the pathologists were paid, everybody who had a hand
Mhm.
in this surgery
Yeah.
was paid. It was strictly for the OR itself. So, and I knew that they had some kind of connection with Florida Blue at some point because the discounted amount was listed in my claims. I could see it there, so I know what it was that they would be paying on my behalf.
Right. Right. So now the building comes in April.
It comes in April for $31,000.
And you had paid $14,000 plus $1,200 every month for your insurance. Yes.
And nothing coming from Florida Blue. Well,
Wow.
there was a second surgery 4 weeks later to get the port put in so that I could
Mhm.
start. And you know, when you're doing cancer, things happen fast.
Yes.
You don't have a lot of time to think about things. I had, for 2 or 3 days to get that port put in, right back to my surgeon, and yes, he put it in right away. So as far as my surgeon went, and as far as how I was treated, everything was fine.
Right.
It happens, it gets done. Well, now I notice that claim is out there for $19,000. So we have $50,000 worth of invoicing from Baptist South that no one is willing to pay for.
Right. And this is with insurance.
And this is with somebody
How
who's
long-
covered.
How
and,
long have you been paying insurance? How many years?
Oh my goodness, I think. You mean through my life?
Well, yeah.
Well, my goodness. I mean, I've been here since I was 28 years old. I've always carried insurance, so it's always been there.
So in theory, if you would have put that money in a savings account and giving it to the insurance companies, you would have more than enough money to pay for the surgery and have money left over.
If you think about
it, none of this stress.
They get more than $15,000 a year just for my coverage, and I never had anything go wrong with me. That's why I liked the little plan that I was on, and the fact that it was a PPO, because it was rare that I ever had to have anything done.
Right.
I wasn't the person costing them a whole lot of money through my life.
Right.
So this was a surprise, and it was the first time I had anything really major happen, and woo!
Wow, wow. So now, where are you at now at this
Well,
moment?
here's the thing now. Now, they're not, neither side is doing anything, and I've sent letters and had communications with both parties, and they're not doing anything. They're just not paying the bill for Baptist. Baptist is acting like they have never seen a letter from me, and they just keep trying to get the full balance.
Right.
So they're just ignoring all practical sides of this and just moving on as though this is a self-pay bill that neither one of them has to, you know, they don't have to deal with each other on. What bothers me about this, I've talked to some attorneys, and I thought, okay, you know, I can do the old pay $50 a month or whatever, and I don't like playing those games.
Right.
You know, if they were willing to discuss certain things with me, maybe reduce the amount or come to some kind of a negotiation between the three parties, anything, but there's no conversation going on at all, and there's no reduction of any kind. They want their $50,000, and what I have found out is that this $50,000 will live on beyond me. So whether they get it from me now or whether I pass on and they get it after, they will get this money sooner or later. It is a viable asset for them.
Wow.
They will get this $50,000, whether it's from me while I'm alive or it'll be after I'm gone. And that to me is unfair. What they're doing is unfair. So they're just counting on the fact that someday they'll see this money anyway, so they really don't need to worry about working with me in any way.
Right. We'll get you at the end.
Yeah. We'll get you one way or the other.
That is extremely cruel.
It is, and when you have the coverage, I know people who don't have coverage and who go to the hospital and have things happen and don't come up with bills like this for being in the hospital the whole time. These bills are extremely high at Baptists out there, as high as you can charge, I think, for the billings, and there's just no communication. Now, I had originally sent a letter to the head of the whole Baptist system, as well as his executive vice president, and I copied in the president of Baptist South. She responded to me within 15 days that the way I was treated upon admission was wrong. This should never have happened. They have had educational time with their employees to make sure that this never happens to anyone again, and they should never be treating a patient this way as they're heading into surgery. And so that, you know, all the apologies are there, but the bill didn't change.
They're still stuck.
They didn't. So I did include the president of Baptist South in my latest communication about the billing, explaining this is my out-of-pocket, so this is what you should pay, Florida Blue, and this should satisfy everybody. This is the discounted amount.
These are the rules just because.
Yeah, these are the rules I've been following for everything in my plan.
So,
why is it that with this
why
one
are you
thing,
being punished, you know?
Yeah, and why with this one hospital, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me at all. Baptist is a big system here. If Florida Blue is going to provide plans in the Jacksonville area, and Baptist is not someone they can ever pay, that should be right in your plan. That should be in those documents somewhere, because that's a big deal. You know, when someone tells me we don't accept money from Florida Blue, I don't understand. You don't want them to pay you. I don't understand what that means. And it has to do with these contract things that they're all talking to each other about. You know, another reason that I didn't think it was appropriate is I had spoken to M.B. Anderson before I had chosen Baptist South, and that's also a Baptist hospital. And they had no problems looking at my plan and saying, yes, this is your out-of-pocket, and Florida Blue will cover the rest. That's exactly how they understood my plan also. Now, I didn't end up going there, or who knows if it would have been the same fight at that. I don't know. Probably.
Yeah, you know.
But, you know, now that I know that this is not the Baptist hospitals I can never use.
So what do you hope for the future then?
Well, right now I don't know what I'm going to do about this bill because it's
Mm-hmm.
hanging over me and obviously could put me into bankruptcy for that.
Right.
You know, my out of pocket because of this whole cancer thing has
Mm-hmm.
been a lot. I was out of pocket
Mhm.
over 30,000 last year.
Mhm.
I'm already out of pocket 10,000 this year.
Wow.
I can't do another
Right.
50,000.
And
I don't have another 50,000
You're
to give
still
them.
paying your insurance?
Oh yeah, it's being paid every month. They get their money every month.
This is
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
I don't know what's wrong with our country. All the rich countries in the world, people don't find themselves, whether it's Norway or Germany or Canada. I don't know why here people. I don't know. It's just so brutal because I hear these stories constantly,
Hmm.
and the reason I put you on video is I want people to see that this is not an uncommon thing,
Hmm.
and it happens a lot. And I think we need to write to our senators and congressmen and people in the industry to sort this out because it's not
Well,
fair.
an interesting comment came up too. I was talking to one of my doctors. He knows that I was going to be doing this with you, and he said, "Did you know that Mr. Green, the head of the Baptist system, has stepped down?" I said, "I
Oh.
didn't realize that."
Mhm.
And there is a new gentleman who has taken his place. He's just been put in there.
Okay.
I have the feeling he might be very interested
Right.
in this information.
Right.
It's one thing when you have people who don't have any insurance and the hospital knows that they're going to take a loss there.
Right. Right.
That's I fully understand that.
Mhm.
But for people in my position where you have insurance
Mhm.
that you're paying all the time,
Mhm.
this is the first time you have something major and all of a sudden
Right. Right.
you're not being paid for.
Mhm.
That's really unusual. And
Mhm.
you can't fight these big guys because they just
Mhm.
ignore you and they know this will go on and on.
Right.
And I guess they don't worry about it because they know they'll see the money eventually. It's not a very fair thing.
Was the Affordable Care Act helped you in any way?
Absolutely, because I am semi-retired.
Okay.
I can't pay that $1,200 a month myself.
Mm. Mm. Okay.
So I was getting assistance to pay for it.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
I went ahead and did that because it was an opportunity that I could use.
Well, yeah.
And something that's needed out
Yeah.
there to make sure that
Yeah.
you do have the coverage and that
right.
these carriers are trying to cover everybody that they can cover.
Mhm.
See, it's all about doing the right thing. You think that you are doing the right thing and you find out
You
that
find
maybe
out.
you're not.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe
Okay.
I would have been better off without having any kind of coverage and just waiting for a bill to come in and taking care of it then.
Right.
You know?
Wow. That's well. We hope this. I'm going to put this on FirstCoast.tv. See how many people it reach. People are welcome to leave comments on the website. And yes, I hope you've been a good friend to me. I've been here now 14 years. You were the first person I dealt with.
That's right.
when I got here, and
Long time.
it's hard to see people who are solid in the community like yourself having to go through this. When a lot of us who've traveled the world in rich countries, we realize this is really not necessary. This could be done much better.
I'd also be very interested in finding out how many people might have gone through something similar.
Do you want to leave an email that they can email you to?
Absolutely, because I'm prepared
Okay.
for almost anything that happens out there in life. You try
Maybe
and be
people have some
prepared for
insight.
things. Exactly.
Something you could
and how
do.
many people maybe don't have a friend like you
Mhm.
who is able to go ahead and
Right.
air this out
Mhm.
there and make sure that other people realize, hey, even when you're covered, you might get screwed in the process.
Right, in the process.
Yeah,
Okay. And
yeah.
your email is what?
It's my full name, Angela Stewart at
Okay.
Comcast.net.
Okay. And I'll put it on the screen so people can actually
That
see
would be
it.
great.
Right. And drop a comment to Angela if you're in a similar. If you think you can help her somehow or have a tip that could ease this burden she carries, but so many of us carry here in the good old USA. All right. Thank you, Angela. Thank you for sharing.
Jorge.
All right.
Appreciate this.
You take care.